The Zephyrian ambassador's crystalline features twisted in what humans had learned to recognize as their species' equivalent of contempt. High Counselor Vexthera regarded the human delegation with eyes that sparkled like fractured diamonds, each facet reflecting a different shade of disdain. "Primitive," she declared, her voice resonating through the quantum translation matrix that made interspecies communication possible. "Your species has barely mastered fusion energy, yet you dare to request access to our Nexus network, the quantum pathways that connect 17 star systems?" Captain Sarah Chen, Earth's chief diplomatic envoy, maintained her composure despite the insult. Behind her, Dr. Marcus Webb shifted uncomfortably in his seat, his tablet displaying readouts that would have been incomprehensible to most humans just a century ago. The third member of their delegation, a young woman named Alex Rivera, seemed almost bored by the proceedings, her fingers dancing across a device that looked like nothing more than an oversized smartphone. "With respect, High Counselor," Chen replied. "Humanity has always been resourceful. We've come further in the last 200 years than most species manage in millennia." Vexthara's laugh was like wind chimes made of ice. "Resourceful, perhaps, but intelligence? True understanding of the universe's deeper mechanics? You cannot even perceive quantum entanglement without your crude instruments." The Zephyrian delegation, 3 beings of living crystal and energy, had arrived at the human research station orbiting Proxima Centauri with an offer that seemed too good to be true. Access to their vast interstellar communication network, instantaneous data transfer across light years, and connection to the greatest repository of knowledge in known space. The catch was simple. Humanity had to prove they were worthy. "Your quantum firewall," Dr. Webb interjected, unable to contain his scientific curiosity. "The one protecting your Nexus access points. How long has it remained unbroken?" 17,000 years, another Zephyrian keeper Zalmoth answered with obvious pride. "No species has ever penetrated our security protocols. The quantum encryption shifts through 47-dimensional layers every nanosecond. Even our most advanced AIs require centuries to generate new access codes." Alex Rivera looked up from her device for the first time since the meeting began. 17,000 years? That's cute. The temperature in the room seemed to drop several degrees. Vexthara's crystalline form blazed with indignant light. "Excuse me, child?" "I said it's cute," Alex repeated, her voice carrying the casual confidence of someone who had never met a system she couldn't crack. 47-dimensional layers, nanosecond shifts. That's actually pretty sophisticated for a static defense. Static? Keeper Zalmoth's energy patterns flickered with confusion. "The encryption is constantly changing." "But it's still following rules," Alex interrupted, holding up her device. "Patterns. Even chaos has patterns if you know how to look for them. And humans? We're really, really good at pattern recognition." Captain Chen felt her heart rate spike. This wasn't part of the plan. Alex was supposed to observe, not antagonize beings capable of turning Earth into cosmic dust. "You claim you can breach our firewall?" Vexthara's voice carried dangerous undertones. "The same firewall that has protected our civilization since before your species discovered agriculture?" Alex shrugged. "Already did." The silence that followed was absolute. Even the ambient hum of the station's system seemed to pause. "Impossible," Zalmoth whispered. "Check your secondary node in the Kepler system," Alex said conversationally, tapping her screen. "I left a little message, just a hello in your own language. Didn't touch anything important, I'm not rude." The Zephyrians exchanged rapid bursts of crystalline light, their equivalent of panicked shouting. Vexthara's form began cycling through colors that didn't exist in human perception, while Zalmoth's energy signature spiked to levels that made the station's radiation alarms chime softly. "How?" Vexthara demanded, her voice now stripped of its earlier arrogance. Alex Rivera, 23 years old and formerly a college dropout who had taught herself quantum computing in her parents' garage, smiled. "You want the technical explanation or the simple one?" "Simple," Dr. Webb said quickly. recognizing the look in Alex's eyes that meant she was about to launch into a lecture that would lose everyone in the room. "Your firewall is built like a maze," Alex explained. "Incredibly complex, constantly shifting, basically impossible to navigate if you try to follow the rules. But humans don't like mazes. We like breaking walls." She held up her device again. "Instead of trying to follow your quantum pathways, I asked a different question. What if the maze doesn't matter? What if instead of finding the right path, you just ignore the paths entirely?" "That's impossible," Vexthera protested weakly. "For you, maybe. Your species thinks in terms of order, hierarchy, following proper channels. Humans think in terms of shortcuts, workarounds, and what my grandmother used to call creative cheating." Alex's grin widened. "I didn't break your encryption. I convinced your system that I was supposed to be there." "Convinced it how?" "Keeper," Zalmuth asked, his energy patterns now dim with what could only be described as defeat. "Social engineering, quantum style. Your firewall is smart, really smart, but it's also polite. When I knocked on the door and showed up with what looked like proper credentials, it let me in. The credentials were fake, obviously, but they were fake in exactly the right way." Captain Chen stared at the young woman who had just accomplished something that had stymied entire civilizations for millennia. "How long did this take you?" Alex checked her phone. "About 4 minutes. Would have been faster, but I stopped to admire the architecture. Really beautiful work," she added, nodding respectfully to the stunned Zephyrians. High Counselor Vexthera slowly regained her composure, her crystalline features settling into an expression that might have been awe. "Your species, you think differently than we anticipated." "Different how?" Dr. Webb asked. "We assumed intelligence meant complexity," Zalmoth admitted. "That advanced beings would naturally develop more sophisticated, more elaborate solutions. But you found elegance in simplicity, brilliance in the unexpected." Alex Rivera shrugged again, already losing interest now that the puzzle was solved. "That's humans for you. We're too lazy to do things the hard way, and too stubborn to accept that something can't be done." The quantum firewall that had protected the Zephyrian civilization for 17,000 years had been breached in 4 minutes by a human with a modified smartphone and an attitude problem. As the Zephyrians began the process of granting humanity access to their Nexus network, with significant security upgrades planned, Captain Chen made a mental note to include Alex Rivera in all future diplomatic missions. After all, in a universe full of beings who thought in terms of impossible barriers, it was good to have someone who specialized in proving that impossible was just another word for hasn't been tried by a human yet.